Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Linda Mougalian, Senior Division Vice President of Go-to-Market Strategy at Nasdaq-listed ADP, to discuss how ADP has pivoted to working from home, with 98% of its workforce working from home, while continuing to provide innovative solutions to its clients. It's great to have you with us, Linda. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Hi, great. Thanks for having me.
How has ADP adapted to the current situation and the new work environment that's been created?
You could feel a difference right from the very beginning. Our mantra was keep our associates safe and keep the world paid. And that turned into moving, as you said, 98% of our associates to work from home safely and securely, and to getting the resources through training and realignment to make sure that we had folks with the right answers for people as they're trying to navigate through, as we expected some of the questions to come in different areas.
What were some of the solutions ADP created or enhanced for clients during this time?
So I really kind of break it into two camps. There were the things that we did up front with the initial wave of COVID, and that was really around business continuity. Things were like having reports so that companies could get access to the funds that they needed to keep their business going, and the Paycheck Protection Program. Around compliance, we had webinars and webcasts and our Eye on Washington, where we had content out there in a very digestible way in a challenging time so that people could go out and get the information that they need and keep moving. We had about 95,000 visits to our different webcasts. And then we also had employee wellness and engagement, and that was really around helping employers to help their employees through this process. So we did things like creating email templates and content to answer the questions that we knew the employees had so that the employers could push it out in English and in Spanish. And then the second wave, we realized pretty early on that the mindset of employers shifted to returning to work. So at first it was kind of navigating through understanding what was going on, and then it shifted to return to work. So we put together a return to work summit. We called it Beyond the Curve. And then we also have a series of products that we're putting in place to help employers as they're navigating back. And a big piece of that is employee communications. And if you can think about it, sitting in the seat of the employer or the employee, like what's the first thing you need to know is who's available to work and are they ready? And so we have surveys to push out to the employees for their availability and their sentiment. And then how do you manage that, right? So if you want to come back and have social distancing, and you may only want to have 50% of your workforce in place at any one point in time, so you can manage that. We've got a dashboard that's specific to COVID to help understand who's available, who's in place, and who's coming back to the workplace. On the day of the work, they come back in, and then who feels like they've been exposed to COVID? Do you have any concerns? So we have a health attestation when people come in and punch in through their timeless kiosk, so they're not touching a physical device that might, where they might catch or contract the virus. And then from there, we go into saying, okay, how are we going to push all of this out and manage this through the touchless kiosks, through those managed workforces, and just give them the ability to communicate, manage, and monitor once people are back in through things like contact tracing, in case anybody comes back and says, oh, after the fact, I found that I had some symptoms. We can see where they are. We also have a marketplace with curated solutions from our partners around things like training and content and onboarding experiences so they can engage their workforce more fully.
What adoption have you seen from clients around the COVID-19 specific product offerings?
So we have a couple of them that I really like to talk about, which were no cost options. And one of those was the volunteer surge. So this was a collaborative effort with ADP, our work market solution, and a series of other partners, AWS and LinkedIn. But the big premise was around trying to find people who were interested in leaning in to help during the health crisis, and where there were actually needs from an employer in healthcare space, whether it's hospitals or others. So folks who were trained were put into a talent pool. Part of the partnership was also getting people trained so that they could answer the questions and be of use in the current context. And so we put them into talent pools to pair the people who wanted to help with the people who needed the help from a gig standpoint. And we had some really good participation there with over 1,000 people onboarded across 45 states, Canada, and Mexico. And the other one is the gift of standout. When we acquired the Marcus Buckingham company, part of that is our standout solution. And in that is a strengths assessment. And we know that when employees went home, one of the things that they were thinking about was, how do I come back stronger after being home? I have a little bit of time on my hand. And so we had the gift of standout, which was made available to anybody who chose to use it, where they could take the assessment, understand their strengths, and then be in a better position to lean into those strengths when they return to the workplace. And we had over 52,000 people take that assessment.
And Linda, you had mentioned before going to Washington, D.C. to help people stay in front of what's happening with PPP. How did ADP stay ahead of getting legislative updates to clients? Because it seems as if it changes so much day to day, and we're still trying to figure out what these packages are going to look like.
So we have our leaders and our government relations teams. We're in contact with Congress, the U.S. Treasury, the Small Business Administration, getting all that information real time, and again, trying to make it very digestible and consumable so people felt like they had the answers they need when they needed them, and they could continue navigating through with stability.
And to wrap up, what has ADP done outside of the United States to address compliance changes?
So there's a lot of changes both domestically and internationally. We made over 1,400 product-specific changes in response to over 2,000 compliance changes internationally that were specific to COVID. And then we also had a specific site on our adp.com website with information for international employers to help them navigate through as well.
All right, Linda, thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.